On that note, welcome to Applied AI episode 1. My guest today is, for the first episode, is Louis, CEO of the Delta. He's also going to show us a few things that we have built here. And yeah, just a quick one. We actually do not want to have the whole presentation being taken up by slides. We want to show you some things and have some lively discussion. But yeah, just who I am. I'm Wynand. I'm an AI partner at the Delta. And what I do on a daily basis is I do AI adoption for ventures and startups. I work with AI workflows, designing them. We also run a lot of experiments, and we also build a lot of multi-agent stacks for people and ventures. So yeah, my guest here today, Louis, is CEO of the Delta. Louis, I will hand over to you to do a quick intro of yourself. And I don't want to talk for you, so quick, over to you.
Sure, thanks, Wynand. Hi, my name's Louis. My background originally, which is coming actually full circle to a lot of the stuff we're doing now on agents, was actually in engineering and computer science, and then computer science postgrad. So then I got into building ventures and kind of couldn't quite stop doing that until today. But yeah, at the Delta, we've built out an ecosystem that supports ventures growing from first investment onto Series A. And this is really what we're passionate about, helping these ventures and entrepreneurs make less mistakes than we've made in the past. And also, have a good time while doing it, I think, is also important to us. So really where kind of these like agent orchestrations and kind of systems are coming in, I feel like I've gone back to the first years of my career, like coding until 2 a.m. So I'm very excited to show everybody what we've been working on. Over to you, Wynand.
I can definitely relate to now suddenly coding till 2 a.m. I almost feel sorry for all the people who suddenly discovered Claude. I feel sorry for their partners, because we're suddenly just like everyone's coding till 2 a.m. So what we will be covering today is I will talk about AI agents and workflows, the difference between the two. You might have heard about agents, you might have heard about workflows, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about AI managed agents. Then me and Louis are gonna discuss paperclip a little, which is essentially, you will see that the progression of the webinar is going to be, we want to have something for everyone. We don't want to assume everyone has a certain level of tech experience with AI. So this is definitely, there will be something for everyone. So even if you haven't even opened any AI, LLM or anything, you will find something here today worth your while. And even if you have built a full paperclip org, you will find something here today. And then at the end, we will have a nice discussion about how we build with AI. And but without further ado, I'm also wary of time, so I want us to get as much through. So when we talk about agents, so you will see a lot of people talk about workflows, a lot of people talk about agents. And in my head, and there's also, if you ask 10 people, you will probably get 11 explanations of this, is what's the difference between an agent and a workflow, and what is an agent? And I think a lot of people confuse the two. In my head, an agent can think, decide, and act on its own, where a workflow is essentially a series of tasks. Do this, do that, then do that. Where in my head, an agent has a goal at the end, and the agent figures out how to achieve that goal. A workflow essentially has a series of tasks. That's just in my head how I differ between the two. How an agent works is it will receive a goal or a question or an instruction, which I will show you later. It will then reason about it and act on it and repeat. If the goal hasn't been reached, it will repeat on it. This goal can be anything from doing your morning briefing, or to doing your annual taxes incomplete and make no mistakes. So, what I will touch on is, I will touch on local versus managed agents. Just the main thing you just need to know between the two is the main difference is the one runs on your computer, the other one runs in the cloud. The one can run only when your computer is on, the other one can run without you. And yeah, the one can also, the one you have to manage it, the other one gets managed on its own. So yeah. Then just from here, a little bit of housekeeping before we go into the demo is there's a Q&A option in the webinar at the bottom right. You can click there and go to the Q&A session, ask some questions there, and we will get to them at the end. So if you have questions, please type them there, and then we will address it then. If I don't get to all the questions, I will reach out in an email at the end or tomorrow, and I will answer some questions that went unanswered. So yeah, and then also we will send the recording to everyone. We will also send the recording to everyone who registered, who couldn't make it today. And yeah, that is it. So I think we can kick it off from here. So yeah, the first thing I want to start with is what local agents look like and how they act. So the first I will do is I will show you local agents that I'm just running locally on Claude, and then I will go to a managed agent from there. So let me do that. I will also let my agent talk to you guys for a little bit. So let me just switch over to that. Okay. Okay. So I run my agents in VS Code, and this is, to me, one of the more basic ones where I can run them. I basically just have a few agents, and then when I talk to what I call my chief of staff, basically this agent is my orchestration agent. And this agent essentially takes all my other agents in like a hierarchy, and it gets information from them whenever it needs it. So, and also my agent, I tested it this morning so that because there's a lot of knowledge in there of things I work with, it will also anonymize all the data it has here, so we can see this. So my first command that I'm going to give my agent is I just want my chief of staff to wake up. So I'm just going to say, hello, can you tell me what agents are living here? So it's thinking. So it will say, it then pulls on the 5 agents I have. It says that there's a chief of staff agent, orchestrator, your single point of contact. It runs my I've got an 8 a.m. briefing that runs every morning that essentially pulls all the data and briefs me on my day. I've got an account manager for all my client relationships. I've got a strategist mirror. This one's actually pretty cool. If we have time, I'll show you that one. It's my thinking partner, and I've specifically trained it because I know a lot of you probably have realized that, especially some models, especially when you just start with Claude, and I know especially ChatGPT, they can be very cheerleadery. Like everything you say is just amazing. So I've trained mine to not do that at all. In fact, it does the opposite. It tells me everything I should think again. So that's kind of nice. I've got a research radar, and that tells me what's happening in AI. And I've got a builder's bench because I also build a lot in AI, and I want my agents to be aware of what I'm researching, also what I'm building. So what I will do here is I will say, so I will say to my agent, not this. I will say to it, hold on. Okay, let me just get, so I prepared my prompts so that I can, so that you don't have to look at me typing during this. So I say to my agent, this is a live demo with a screen share. Please tell me what I'm currently building for founders currently. So it will actually go and it will look at my builders bench and it will connect to my GitHub and it will show me what is the thing that I'm currently building for founders out there. And it will ruminate there, ruminating, hurting. So it will show me that I'm currently building a Delta unblocker platform. And the thing that I'm currently building for ventures is we know a lot of ventures are currently building with AI. And we also know that that sometimes you get stuck. So we're building an unblocking platform where if you get stuck, you can reach out to one of our developers and it will literally like a ticketing system show you when's the next available developer, and it will you will be able to book that person to help you get unstuck or just sense check something or anything like that. So please be on the lookout for that. That will be launched sometime soon. But yeah, then I will show you something where I can say run my daily briefing, and I'm going to say I'm going to give it something where I say, keep in mind I'm in a live demo, so hide any company or personal information. So what my morning briefing will do is it will look at what I have to do during the day. It will also pull my research radar, and it will show how that affects my projects and everything. So, and I can also say, remember to give me my daily research. Okay, so then it will pull my chief of staff. My chief of staff will then pull my so it's pulling my Google Calendar, it's pulling my Gmail. It's connected to everything. It will also look at my look at what research are currently available in AI, and my research radar is actually trained to filter out noise. So it will only show me the things I need to be aware of. So now you can see it's pulling the chief of staff agent is now pulling on the research radar. It's pulling on various resources, and yeah, and it actually says here, tonight's the thing, the webinar, which we are in now. It says here, webinar, go time. It knows what's happening here. There's my research radar going. And one thing to watch, practice session this morning, attendance records, yeah. So here, you can see my chief of staff is pretty aware of what's going on in my day. It says here, tonight's the thing, the agent webinar. It showed actually how my day looked, and it anonymized the data as I told it, and just like flagging some open things I should need to attend to, and then research radar. So this is where the chief of staff actually pulled another agent. So this agent is like, Google just launched AI agent tools yesterday, Anthropic's Claude Mythos, everyone's talking about that, and Claude Sonnet 4.6, and it also rates it, like what are the things that are the biggest impacts and what are the more noisy things. So yeah, tonight 5, everything else is prep. So yeah, I felt my day was a little bit more busy than what my chief of staff said here, but yeah, we can address that. I will address that later. But I also don't want to take up too much time in showing the local agents. So I'm going to stop presenting this. And what I will do is I will go to show from now. So that was a local agent. All of those agents ran on my local computer. So none of this can essentially run on its own or without my instruction or in the cloud. Or essentially, when my computer is off, all of this is off. So then what I will do from here, so I will just show you a new thing that some of you might have seen in the last 2 weeks is Claude managed agents. That is something that has come onto our radars, and I will show you quickly how I set up a few managed agents. And also, for me, the value in agents comes in when one agent can pull on another one. And so I will quickly share that. And yeah. Okay, so here we have the Claude running in the Claude console, and we have a session here where we can see the session is I created one agent, I woke it up over here, shows you some usage over here, this is pretty nice because it shows me when my agent is awake and idling and things like that. So my agent woke up. It says, good morning, I'm awake, and executed some, you can see there it ran some commands. It ran into an error over there, and then it went into idle. Then it waited again, and then got some other commands that it executed. But then the most important thing for me was over here, when my one agent called another agent, fully online, fully autonomous. So this is, to me, great, although I feel that Claude managed agents and this is exactly in the webinar where I'm like, I don't think it's there yet. I like where they're going, and I don't think it's there yet for us to use or scale. So, but yeah, from this, I will actually, when we want to show how things can scale, is I want to hand over to Louis to show us or to discuss with us like when we use paperclip, which is when we essentially take a whole organization of agents, and you can actually grow an organization with agents. So Louis, I quickly want to hand over to you with regards to paperclip. So if you can give us a quick overview of paperclip, your experience with it, and yeah.
Sure, thanks, Wynand. So maybe a couple points. So I mean, as Wynand mentioned, going through kind of local agents, then to managed or hosted agents, I'm sure a lot of you have played around with some of these things. And there are a lot of other frameworks. I mean, it's not only Claude that you can kind of do this on, right? But really, if you look at kind of the local agents, they do reach a limitation. Then you get to kind of managed. I still think that like you're still relatively limited in that regard. Then I think the next step, which we'll touch on a little bit more in another session of this, is actually when you start kind of using Claude Code actually to build out individual platforms that are more like business infrastructure, right? Which we've done. We have 7 different applications running in a range of different places now, which can take you quite a lot further than what you can do with kind of, let's say, kind of the individual kind of local agents. Although you may run some of these applications locally. But then basically we started to tinker around with paperclip, and I'm going to kind of just jump into a short presentation that I put together. And by I put together, I mean Claude Design put together. And so like really what we started to think about, and like this is maybe just to contextualize, like when you would go and do something, when you would use an agent framework in general, or when you would use something like paperclip. Like the context that you give into most of these like individual agents, often those scopes are very small. So you're basically building, like, let's say you're building an SDR, or you're building some outreach, or you're automating a workflow, or you're doing a repetitive task. The problem with that generally is that once you've finished with building that agent, or you're orchestrating a couple of agents, like it's pretty much, the scope is very limited. It can't move on from there. So once we built quite a few of those, and then we built like a few full-on applications with like up to 17 or 18 agents operating in these individual applications, started to realize that these are still quite limited in like really what they can do to accelerate your business. So I started looking for something that could encapsulate the full context of the business from the top down. In effect, something like a co-CEO, right? And the reason this is super valuable, if you start thinking about it, is because the translation of your goals into strategy, and your strategy into like tactics or actionable tasks, is really where probably the biggest bottleneck in the business is. At the end of the day, like unless you can really give this context to some sort of agent framework or agent kind of orchestration, like everything else is human time, basically designing agent setups. But now, like that biological friction is something to definitely be removed. So we basically started playing around with paperclip, and like to be honest, it was a serious learning journey, because we started playing around with when it just came out. And obviously, I think there's been a lot of progress on the framework, on the open source stuff. So I'm going to take you through kind of what we experienced. So we basically kind of started off with this co-CEO vision, basically a set of agents that know everything about the business everywhere all the time. And this is something that is actually in practice pretty difficult to do for quite a few reasons. And I'll explain to you just the nitty gritty if any of you have wondered about like paperclip and exactly like whether it's worth implementing and what it's good for and what it's not good for. And I will actually give you guys a little bit of a live demo of a version that I'm running. It is a bit hard to get into. It's not like super simple. But in general, just to bring it back to paperclip, this is kind of when you start looking at more extensible agent frameworks. And like, this is something where these agent frameworks do have a lot of overhead. Like they are quite expensive to run. And I'm going to go into a bit of a comparison on the next slide here, but when you would do these things. But what you get actually in the case of for this overhead, right, is you get like this abstract extensibility. So I'll give you an example. So it took me probably about 10 hours to figure out how paperclip worked. But in 2 hours of work, like I was able probably to create more work leverage than if I had spent maybe 30 or 40 hours building out tools through Claude code. And really, that's really where the benefit of this kind of super modular extensible framework comes in. It's like serious overkill if you're just trying to do basic stuff. So like Julian, one of our co-founders, was trying to use a paperclip org in place of his OpenClaw. And that's a terrible idea, actually, because like there's so much overhead happening in there. Like these kind of lightweight Hermes agents, like these things are a lot better fit for somebody who's just going to reply to you back and forth on one channel. Where paperclip really comes into its own is where you start to create, and how we applied it was effectively creating a shadow organization. This is only a couple of the roles. At the end of the day, like we built out quite a few different areas, so we probably have, and I'll show you on the actual tool now. But the approach we took was to basically mirror the full organization, with each area effectively having an agent representing that area, right? And then basically we started running into kind of some of the challenges that paperclip has. It is extremely powerful, but some of the challenges that actually come with it is that paperclip is actually designed as a fully autonomous organization framework, right? So what I mean by that is that it is not actually well designed to interact or to have a hybrid organization where you have employees in the business that are collaborating with this organization. So, and I'm pretty sure that one of the next big breakthroughs on agent frameworks are going to be this kind of hybridized view, where you can sub in and sub out different agents in different places. And to be honest, trying to apply a fully autonomous agent organization to mirror or effectively operate the full business has been, let's say, it has had kind of quite a lot of funny moments, which I'll touch on. Let's just say the work ethic and response rate of agents is they really don't they don't like not being answered within maybe like 1 hour. So they kind of just follow up again and again. So there was a case where basically a new person joined the team, and the co-CEO messaged this new person on the team on Easter Friday evening about something, and then on Easter Saturday morning, like off my Slack, it basically followed up like twice, asking whether she had looked into this yet. So there are a lot of teething issues, but some of the key points, right? So there are a lot of concepts that are not built into paperclip if you wanna operate this as we have as a kind of co-CEO, or effectively like a shadow org. So privacy, confidentiality, it has no idea about scopes of what should be listened to and what shouldn't. This really came up when or what should be shared with who and when. This really came up actually with number 8. So we realized that to get the work and the ability for this tool to actually coach and drive the whole business forward on a day-to-day basis, at the moment it's sending probably about 40, 50 mails a day, doing a range of things from breaking down the goals, OKRs, the budgets, understanding our bottom-up forecasting with regards to how we're doing on these goals, basically sharing kind of advice, bringing different pointers to different people through various channels. But we realized that the context is absolutely everything. So we started to try and bring it into play with regards to recordings and transcripts, which is something that doesn't come directly out of the box if you want to really use it in your organization. But as soon as we actually gave it access to a range of these things, like the quality of what it was actually doing just accelerated immensely. And it is actually dramatically up to date with actually what's happening. So it really did. That was a huge unlock. The other really big unlock, which I think is just an interesting point to mention, and before we go too in depth here, and this is really where I think, and we'll touch on this in one of the forward-looking episodes, where I really think that the main leverage is coming. And I mean, I think there's a lot of leverage already in AI, but I think that there is definitely a transformation happening at the moment for organizations that understand where to apply AI and how to get the most out of it. And I'll give you an example of this. So we have probably 7 or 8 Claude Code applications, ranging from like a funnel accelerator where we have all of our end-to-end funnels from like top of funnel all the way through to kind of sales in kind of a, like, let's say a human in the loop drafting system. Then we've got like live call intelligence and things like this that we've built out, right? Now, the big challenge that I realized was that like we're still sitting there as the people in the business thinking, what is blocking us from reaching the goal? How do I accelerate like us reaching the goal? And sometimes the solution is that something needs to be built or this tool needs to be edited. And then it hit me that actually, like, I spent some time with paperclip actually explaining to it, and I'll just go on to paperclip so you guys can have like a little bit of a look at what's cracking here. I spent some time with paperclip actually trying to let's say yeah, I mean, you can kind of see how this kind of works, but I spent some time with paperclip trying to bring context into it about what is the actual digital landscape of the entire business, right? And what basically became apparent, which I think is a huge unlock and something that paperclip is very well sorted to do, is it started basically looking through the repositories of these tools, understanding who the users were, looking at the at all of the content or the specs of this, and basically it would look all the way from the goal. So what is the goal that we need to achieve over the next like month? We're behind. How do I solve this problem? We need to do a higher volume of outreach in this particular area. Like, why are we not doing that? Okay, cool, because this person, and it will go look in the channel and say like this person doesn't have an account, or they're not busy, or whatever, or they're on sick leave, or and then it actually said like, actually, to be honest, the funnel accelerator tool is a really good place for us to just get these changes done, and we can onboard these people. So it basically then started and has continued to do basically pull request changes on the infrastructure of the business, which, like, really, if you think about it and zoom out, like, that opens up your eyes to realizing that the speed at which paperclip or any type of, let's say, AI employee type framework with a goal and like a loop back applied all the way end to end through to the full business is really where I think the battle is being won now when I look at ventures that are really implementing AI really well. And that's something that we're really trying to double down into here in Paperclip. And yeah, I'm gonna touch on the costing in a second, but so the framework itself for Paperclip, I think there's a lot of other options out there. The real benefit of Paperclip comes where you are not going to spend time specifying exactly how it should go and do something. The extensible framework is built this way so that it can figure this out, but you are accepting a lot of overhead to get this done. And there is just a lot of like boilerplate stuff that needs to kind of be built out. I'm sure that somebody will eventually kind of launch this as something that's out of the box. And yeah, I mean, to the point on the cost, I mean, the costing is can be eye-watering. It's like, so I actually did an analysis. Well, I mean, I asked Paperclip to do an analysis of how much it would cost to run this organization. And basically, to run this organization not at super high speed, it would cost us probably about $5,000 per month, right, in its current form. That definitely would probably increase. So we're probably looking at $5,000 to $10,000. You can run it on local actually through your subscription, right? Which, to be honest, depending on your subscription, like, can get you somewhere, can get you nowhere. But the reality is, like, I would not recommend getting into building out a Paperclip instance for any type of business model. Even if it is fully autonomous, if you're not prepared to basically deploy this thing and get stuck into paying API credits for it, because it is a serious tool. It's not like a one-off item. You lose a lot of value when basically you're running out of credits, and like you lose the time value, and then it has to kind of catch up on a lot of stuff. So yeah, I mean, look, there's pros, there's cons with it. I'm pretty sure that there are going to be evolutions of this that are going to focus specifically on hybridizing or effectively helping create massive leverage in hybrid situations where you can like blend the reporting lines between individuals and actually the agents, which currently, if you were to go and do this using like basically, you could go do this using Claude Code, right? You could go do this using like normal agents, but the reality is you'd build probably for, let's say, like 4 or 5 months to get to the point where you would have something that can do basically this, but generally it's not going to scale well. Whereas what I've seen a lot of the time, even in ventures, particularly ventures working on dark factories at the moment, like this type of extensible framework makes a lot of sense, right? This type of extensible framework makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, that's basically Paperclip. Look, I mean, if anybody wants to learn a bit more about it and how to really apply it, I mean, I'm happy to give a bit more in a depth introduction. I mean, I can't go in depth through it largely because it does have a decent amount of data that's probably not something I'm going to chuck on a call. But yeah, so I mean, to be honest, I think it's super exciting. And the last thing I'll mention just before we go ahead into Q&As is I think the really exciting part with actually what we're going to discuss next month, which Wynand's going to talk about, is really kind of on on context systems, but also kind of on context systems, and how when you start to realize that like you have this extensible framework running across your business, working with and touching on a range of different agents, you start realizing that like the base context operating system is really the next battleground. But I'll hand over to you, Wynand, to kind of take us through and to kind of the end.
Yeah, no, 100%. So that's also something we are running into on a daily basis with ventures and founders is the moment you start really getting deep into, you almost get this, there's this first, I know Gartner used to call it the hype cycle. And so there's this first cycle where everyone's super excited and in implementing AI in their business, and they get immense value in the beginning. And then people start really realizing that context is really where like you also said now, Louis, with paperclip, like context is where having this agent or this group of agents having context of your business and how you do things is becoming more and more valuable. And that's also what we will discuss in our next episodes, where we will talk a lot about context and how to give context. Again, we will talk about how to do it on a small scale and how to do it on a larger scale as well. Yeah, so speaking of that as well, we have a poll for you live now. We would like to get your input on what are some of the future topics you want us to touch on. Context, we are going to touch on context, but we want to listen to our audience as well. If there's something that's actually more important or more pressing, then we can address that first. So please head over to the poll, and you can let us know there. But yeah, so yeah, Louis, thanks for that. I think I'm going to hand over to if there's anyone who wants to drop some questions in the Q&A section for me or Louis, you can do that there. There was a question that came up on the costing. Yeah, Louis addressed that. So if there's any other questions, please feel free to drop it there. Yeah, GDPR. Good question. I guess it's yeah, GDPR is. I always like. I'm not a GDPR lawyer, so I don't want to talk too much about that always. But that is definitely a moving target at this stage. And I think the bigger thing on our radars now is also the EU AI Act that we're going to see, especially in the EU, coming in August. So where I think there's going to be a lot of responsibility for ventures to use AI responsibly. There's going to be a lot of accountability for bigger institutions to report on how they use AI, what they do with the data. And the thing that I think is going to be great is that how I think it's done good is that there's different tiering systems. So I always say when ventures ask us about that, luckily for me, the EU AI Act, someone running a cookie shop and someone vetting students at a university is not on the same tier. So that's great. I think that's going to be a good way to run that. Someone asked about patenting an AI agent. I haven't tried that. I think I think we should get an IP, someone on AI IP would be great. But I mean, I think the thing now with AI, and I say this to ventures every day that we work with, is also remember at the stage we are now, where anyone can essentially build something in a week or a weekend. What is your moat? What is making you unique, and what is your moat to keep you competitive in the market? How many customers for paperclip? Yeah, I'm not pretty clear on that. I will let me see. We have a new question here. It said here, what would it take to get a setup like the one you showed at the beginning with all the agents? Is that something you'd consider presenting in future sessions? Many thanks. So yeah, like the one I had in the beginning, it actually was the one I presented in the beginning is surprisingly fast to set up. So if anyone is interested in me having a webinar or a session specifically on how I set up those 5 agents, I can definitely do that in an hour webinar session where I build one, let's say from scratch with like four of those agents, and show you how I trained them and how I just set them up to essentially get smarter over time. It seems like there's a lot of interest there, so we will definitely do that. I will happily show you guys how to how I set that up and trained it. So yeah, is there any other questions? Let me just, I actually want to quickly check on the poll. So, wow, yeah, okay, so it's quite interesting. So context and AI, we got a lot of people are talking about context and AI, so it's definitely something people are thinking about, which is great. I love talking about context and AI. Claude design, definitely, I mean, that came out last week. I admittedly have not worked on that yet, but our design team at the Delta is just having a ton of fun with it. So what I will do is I will set up one of these webinars where I will get our head of UX, and he will actually give us a nice Claude design webinar specifically. So if some of you are interested in that, it will definitely, the things that he's done there he showed me quickly, and it was just unbelievable. So I will definitely do a Claude design webinar. Yeah, okay. Now in the poll, I see everyone is on Claude design, but it's great. So yeah, I'm so glad that everyone came here, and the turnout was great. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up on here. Louis, thanks so much for joining us, giving us a nice paperclip a demo, and thanks to everyone else for joining. And we will send over the recording. And please, you are more than welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Add me on there if you have any questions. Maybe it's just a small question about how you're using Claude or something. Please send me a LinkedIn message. It's perfectly fine. And yeah, then we will look out for our next episode, and then we will send you yeah, we'll send you the recording. We see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.